So as we said in the first video, the features that we see in this area or in this object or in this list are the same that we see in any other list. For example, if we go to a list that's called customers, we see similar stuff. We see a menu up there, a context sensitive menu. We see a list of records here, or a list of rows, and we can do right mouse button and the same menu that we see up there we see here. But as you can see, the menu here a little bit different than the menu in the previous object. So every object has its own menu, as the configurator of the system, what we call the administrator, will decide for every user what does he or she sees in this list, and what does he or she sees in this list. Here, as you can see, we're looking at a customer list. We're seeing the customer code and the sequence, the full name, the country, the city, the created status, created on, and the status. If you go to the vendors, you will see a similar view, but a different list. Note that we coded the vendors here in encrypted way, just to protect our data. In real life, you don't code vendors like this, but here we did that just because we're showing real data from one of our setups, and we don't want that data to be identifiable. So as you can see, in Prosper we have an area to handle all our customers, our vendors, our subcontractors, our service providers, the manpower, and the other entities, the investors, the landowners, the banks, and this will show me who are the logged in users at this moment. But why we're configuring these lists? These lists, we will configure them, we call them supporting lists, as when we go and work on the system, and let's say we're creating a sales contract for a customer, so the customer must be listed under the customer lists, and the customer must be approved. So a department must, there is a process that says, in every company, that says who can approve a customer and how that process works. So even here, as you can see, the customer has a status, and the status is approved, and you can do progress here. And when you do the progress, you could say revise, or you could say blacklist. This is to make sure that you don't work with this customer anymore. The same thing with this vendor anymore. The same thing with a subcontractor or a service provider or a manpower. The same thing here. There is a history to show you the history of this specific vendor, and there is a report. It's called vendor statement, that will show you this vendor, what did you buy from this vendor throughout all the projects. So let me see if we can run this report. Once we ran the report, it says the report called vendor statement. It has a priority, it has an output name, a run date, an expiry date, and status, but there are no records to display. The system says generate new output. Why generate new output? Because I want right now to generate an output for this report. So if I click on generating new output, the generated output name is suggested to be this one. I can modify it. Oh, this is it generated an output name. It generated a PDF format because I decided I want it to be PDF. It could be anything that I want to. I can select from HTML, comma separated values, TXT, XLS to send it to Excel, RTF or rich text format, or doc as to go to Word. The delete generated output after 12 May, automatically the system will give you a 1 month from today, for depending on each report. Each report you could decide how many days you want to keep that output. Even if the data changes, that output, that PDF file, I would like to keep it. So this is the PDF that generated, As you can see, it's clickable. I could click on that PDF file and I would see it, and it would tell me this vendor statement, the vendor 24609, under it he has the following invoices under these projects, the following payments. This is the balance for that vendor. These are the payments without invoices that we paid for this vendor, and these are the total invoices and that we paid. So this vendor has a balance of 0, but it will show you the whole history for that vendor in all our projects, which is very nice. The bill number, the for what phase did we buy from this vendor, the amount that we bought, and the date. So it's a very detailed report that you want for a when you're accessing a vendor. If you go to another vendor, for example, for this vendor, and you generate a new output, once you generate new output for that vendor, it will show you that vendor. So this is from a vendor point of view. We're looking at it across all projects. So it doesn't matter. This is the vendor across all projects. That vendor worked with me in only one project with invoices. So this is exactly what we're doing. Let's do close, and let me go to a customer, for example. Let me go to a customer. Here, as you can see, this customer has, for example, a customer statement. Let me show the customer statement. As you can see here, we don't see that output because the output for that report for that person was done. I'm going to generate a new output for that. Always I'm generating PDF output because the PDF is very nicely shareable and viewable anywhere. So it will tell me this customer statement for this project, he bought this unit under the contract reference number. This is the square meter. How many square meters was that unit? The note for first parking space by Surside. Scheduled payment 12,000, actual payment 12,000, due payments 0, and remaining not due payments 0. So it will tell you all when was the here that customer is buying 2 units from us. This is the parking space, and this is the B1 ground floor, first floor Qabr Shmoon side. Okay. This is 165,000, actual payment 165,000, remaining not due 0 because he paid everything. So this is the payment reference received from customer, when, how much amount, and the date it was received. And so, and this is if it's not paid, it will tell you overdue, or it's not paid, it will tell you not paid next to it, which is really nice. But right now, let me go to, before we expand further, I want to go to the settings. I want to show you one thing that we use here that is a very important asset that we have. It's called the corporate database. The corporate database basically is a standard project where we keep in it all the codes, the rates, the templates, and the composes common to all projects. This is when we learn from executing projects where we save this knowledge. This knowledge is saved under this corporate database. This is the major asset of the system. Once you start using it and you start learning from experience in one project to carry it to other projects. We'll go inside it in a while. I want to show you the divisions. These are when we manage a project, we manage it. You can think of it as phases. There's a general phase, there's a preliminaries phase, there's a site preparation phase, there's a foundation retaining wall phase, there's a concrete structure phase, a rough interior finishes phase, an exterior finishes phase, and interior finishes. These are not the rough interior finishes, these are the real interior finishes, and the legal procedure phase, and the last phase is the maintenance phase. So every project passes through these phases, and these are the division inside every phase. For example, engineering and supervision fees, electrical and water, electricity, water and fuel management fees, cleaning and uploading, hospitality, janitor risks unforeseen, financing, marketing, social responsibility, and tools and consumables. These are the standards that come with the system once you use that system. You are not forced to use exactly these. You can modify them to fit your own needs, and that's what we do with every customer. Basically, we add to this list and minimize some stuff that a customer doesn't use. The general phase is a phase that goes from the beginning of the project till the end of the project. This is the expending that you do throughout the project. The preliminaries phase is when you do this. These are the preliminaries phase. This is when you do the preparation, basically the land surveying, the design and union fees, the permit fees, the soil and test fees, the site insurance, the land price or owner share. This here up to here. All these things are preliminaries. Before you start with the project, you have to make sure that these things are prepared before you start the project. Then once you decide to start the project, you have the site preparation, which is the excavation and grading, the septic tank excavation, the water tank, and the pits excavation. In this area, this is what's required. In your area, you might have more or less items required depending on in what country you are working and in what situation you would like to include. Under the foundation and retaining walls, the footing foundation, the ground beams, the solid ground slab, the retaining walls and foundation, the central water tank, the retaining wall, the septic, the whole thing. So I will not repeat, but all of this stuff this is what it comes as a standard. Note the coding structure. This is under coding 3, and this is 3.00, 3.01, 302, 03 till you can modify it the way you want to. These are what we call the divisions. The expenses are the detailed expenses under 5 different categories. In Prosper, we use 5 different categories for expenses. We have equipment expenses, which is the E, equipment expenses. We have labor expenses. We have material expenses. We have subcontractor expenses and other expenses, or other expenses and subcontractor expenses. Here they are listed, the others before the subcontractors, because it's ordered by expense class. So all the expenses that you spend in your project must be under these 5 categories. This is a standard in capturing categories in once you say this item, how much it cost me, it's classified under these 5 different categories. It can be, one item can be only in one category, or it can be in one or more, up to 5 categories. For example, an item can use equipment, can use material, can use subcontractor, can use others, and can use labor. So it depends how you want that cost for every item. How do you want it categorized? For example, these are some of the equipments that are configured under this database, and they come standard with every installation of Prosper Red real estate development. But you can add your own. For example, we have Bobcat, Pucklin, winch, pickup truck, loader, compressor, JVC, helicopter, cement mixer, cement pump, and scaffolding. But as you can see, under the equipment, you can add whatever you want to here by just giving it a coding. This is the code. This is the E, so this is the E04, 05, 06. The same thing under labor. We have normal labor. We have worker, janitor, skilled, and project manager. We have under material. Wow, under material you have so many types of materials that you want, and you can add whatever material you can. The system comes already pre-configured, but you can add your own. under subcontractors, this is what kind of subcontractors you want to subcontract. So this is the divisions and the expenses. Let's talk about the accounts. The accounts are either bank accounts, cash accounts, or I think these are bank accounts and cash accounts, depending on how the account chart, your accounting system would use. But it's very simple, because every time you pay something, or every time you receive a payment, you place it in one of these accounts. And there are some accounts between partners, between investors inside, for if you have a multi-company, a multi-investor setup, where every investor is handling part of the business. Sometimes you might have an investor getting paid for something or paying something. The same thing for owners, the same thing for every vendor, depending how you want to organize your bank and cash accounts. We will talk about that once we go into implementation, because this is very implementation specific. You will create the accounts that you want, and the system would allow you to, once you pay something, you say from what account you paid, and once you receive a payment, you say in what account does it go. The same thing, you can go transfer between accounts, so this person paid from his own pocket to this, so he will have his own pocket account, then other stuff. But it depends. This is specific to every single customer. The countries list, we have a standard countries list, so if you have a customer or a vendor and you want to say this customer, where does he or she comes from, or a vendor, you have the whole countries list visible. And what we have, the reports that run across the system. Some of the reports that run across the systems are the all account balances, the all project cash flows, all project cash flow in a list way, all project customer units, all unit sales. This is all unit sales. As you can see, across all projects, this is all unit sales, combined balance sheet across all projects. Investors project, for example, every investor, what project does this investor, is this investor participating in? This is very important because Prosper manages multiple investors and multiple projects. So for every project, you decide who are the investors in this project. There might be one only investor in this project, or can be multiple investors in that project. It works very simple if it is one or if it is many. If you can have one investor that investing across multiple projects, and this is why the investors projects. For example, let me run this report a little bit to show you an example of what we are talking about. This report will show me a grid, a matrix. Let me show you a matrix like this. For example, these are the projects and these are the investor codes. As you can see, codes to protect them. And it will tell you this investor is 15% in this, 25% in this project, nothing in this project, 25% in this, 25% in this. As you can see, for example, this project, this investor is only 2% in this project. It depends on how the investors are investing and in what projects are they investing.